Hello chess family, it's me, National Master Jesse James, and today we're looking at a very fun game I got to play as white in the Smith-Morra Gambit. Now this is a game upon recommendation because people were telling me that they were having a very hard time in the bishop g7 or whenever black fianchettos their bishop. I went ahead and did a video about how to do the main setup and even a few games with it for a particular variation. So now this is the one with an in-depth involved into the bishop g7 variation. In this game, I got 2 brilliants in it, so very nice game. And it was a miniature, so, well, I hope you guys enjoy this. All right, here we go. I was playing the white side, so we start with e4, c5, the Sicilian. Pawn to d4, pawn takes, pawn c3. We got our Smith-Morra Gambit right here. And like any good chess player, they went ahead and took a free pawn. Knight takes on c3, knight c6, definitely one of the best moves here. The knight needs to get developed, and it doesn't let us know, as far as the white side, what defense they're going to be using here. Now, typically, I bring in my knight out first, but this time I brought up my bishop first. Where does the bishop go? Do you know? Remember, always put the bishop on its best diagonal, attacking the f7 pawn. Here we play bishop c4. And here, black went ahead and played pawn to g6. Remember, this is the g6 or the fianchetto variation. And the reason why I know what to play the best move is because I read the book Mayhem in the Morra by the great Mark Esserman. Now, this is the Bible as far as Smith-Morra players. I'll go ahead and try to leave a link down below about buying it, wherever you want to buy it. But definitely look about buying it. It is a great book, and it gave this really great idea to play. Because if I didn't know what to play here, yeah, this would have been a very hard move to play against, because g6 is very solid. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and set up our very nice idea by just keep developing. We play knight to f3 first. Black plays bishop g7, and this is the move that Mark recommends, which I definitely believe gets you into a good position. Here you get to go ahead and play pawn to e5. Again, this is a move, if you did not study, that it would be very hard, if not dang near impossible, to figure out over the board. And here it's just saying, well, okay, can't we just take the free pawn? Here, remember, the best way to beat a gambit is to accept it. You actually have to take the pawn here on e5, which is going to give white a nice little advantage. Notice here, I mean, they're pretty much forced to take. If they do not take, I guess they just have to develop their knight somewhere else. One of the main ideas of e5 is it's stopping pawn being pushed up without an en passant, making an isolated pawn, or the knight can't go to its good square of f6. Of course, they can play something like knight h6, but this is not really a good move, and there's good ways to counter that. So here, my opponent was up for the challenge, and he went ahead and took. Knight takes, bishop takes, and this is the move that follows up, and why it's okay to sacrifice your pawn. Here, what are you playing? Hopefully you push pause, try to figure it out. If not, enjoy the show. Here you go. Here we have a very nice opening tactic of bishop takes on f7. Double exclaim or brilliant. I can't take credit for this. Thank you, Mark. This is all your theory. And so, well, black has nothing better than to go ahead and play king takes back. And now we go ahead and play queen to d5 check, forking the bishop and the king. And here there's no good way to defend the bishop. In the game, my opponent must have been a bit shook up, and he ended up playing king f8. I think the main move that I typically see here is king g7 or pawn to e6. Both of them, we still get good positions. And for those who are curious, king f6 is wah-wah, a bad move. There's actually 2 very good ways to play here if your opponent does end up playing king f6. I mean, I don't know how many of your opponents are going to play this, but just in case they do, it's good to know how to beat this. Here, the strongest move, especially by computer, is going to be playing bishop to g5 check. What's the idea? Well, if the king goes ahead and takes on g5, now we have queen takes on e5 check, forking the rook and the king. Forced idea there. Of course, they don't have to take. They should probably just move their king back to g7. And, of course, if they play something like king to f5, they're going to end up getting checkmated very fast with pawn f4. And that goes along with the other line, the move I actually like to play here. If they do play king to f6, I actually like to play knight to e4 check. But maybe I'll start trying out this bishop g5 move too. And here, they should run back to g7. If they do go king f5, again, they're going to get checkmated. Here we have pawn g4 with a quick checkmate in 5 here. All right, back to the game. At this point, after queen d5, like I said, my opponent was a little shook up. Oh, by the way, this was a game 15, meaning 15 minutes each person, so there should have been plenty of time. With that being said, like I said, this was a miniature, so I don't believe he lasted that long. He went ahead and played king to f8. Let's go ahead and grab that bishop. Queen takes on e5, and this is one of the main positions as far as if you do study, this is what you're supposed to get. And I could definitely understand both sides when to play this, because although we do have the king unprotected over here, we do not have any center pawns. So I'm not going to lie, I would play either side of this position, although I do prefer the white side just because of more attacking chances. Like I said, after the game, black played the typical move here, knight f6. And here you can see that if the attack does falter, two center pawns here are going to be very strong. And yeah, no center pawns here is definitely going to be some trouble for us. With that being said, we have plenty of time to attack, and that's exactly what I did. Well, first things first, let's go ahead and keep developing pieces. Let's look for some threats. Here we have our simple bishop h6 check. Why not? Here the king went to f7, and now a move I love to play, especially when I'm attacking. What is that? I go ahead and castle. Of course, I see so many of my lower ranked opponents that go ahead and keep attacking with their king still in the center. Remember, guys, you need to castle as soon as possible. Finish up your opening before you go to your middle game, which in this case is the attack. All right, my opponent went ahead and played pawn d6, a very common move which I've seen quite a bit. The idea d6 attacks the queen, but the bigger idea is to let out the bishop somewhere. And here, I did think for a while where the best place for the queen was, and after thinking for a little while, it's definitely queen to f4 here, putting pressure on the knight. Now, they can play e5 here, which is exactly what I want. As you can see, if e5 gets played, the weaknesses around the king become very apparent. Apparently, it's already +1 in this position, meaning white is almost up an extra pawn here. So here, I want them to push their pawns forward because later on, when I get my rooks out here, which is going to go to the D and the E file, the pawns will then become targets. So, back to the game. Here, after queen f4, he went ahead and played queen b6. Definitely not the right idea here. You could definitely say my opponent loves pawns because, well, they're developing a piece and attacking a pawn. And if you know me, especially from the opening, you think I care about my b2 pawn? Of course not. Let's look for the attacking idea. Here I went ahead and played rook to b1. And here the computer doesn't like this as much, but my main idea here that I'm trying to do is trying to put pressure on e7. Now I could have played knight to d5 here right away because of the pin, but well, knight d5 doesn't do anything and it gives away my attack of attacking the e7 pawn. So that's the idea of rook to e1. I'm developing with a threat of knight to d5, putting pressure on f6 and this e7 pawn. Well, my opponent went ahead and snack attacked. Of course he did. You know, he loved those pawns, so he went ahead and took. I'm very happy to give that pawn away. I will give you as many pawns as you want to if you give me plenty of attacking chances. Let's continue the attack. I went ahead and my knight is now unprotected. I went ahead and played knight to d5 here. Now I have some very strong threats. Rook takes on e7 check, which is just winning. And here we played the regular move of rook to e8. Now here there is quite a few different moves that you can play here. But here I already had seen my second brilliant of the game, or my double exclam of the game, for a very nice attacking or checkmating pattern here. Feel free to push pause if you want to in this position and take a look about what to play here. All right, hope you push pause and try to figure it out. Here, there's a few ways to get into a winning position. One of them is very simple. You can play knight c7. Now, knight c7 is going to win the exchange, but in my opinion, it doesn't really play what I want it to play because here, black's going to be able to defend. For instance, after something like bishop f5, I'm going to take one of these rooks. Let's just say I take on a8. Rook takes. I am winning, but it's going to take time to nurture this into a full win. And with all these extra pawns here, things actually can get a bit annoying. If not, a blunder could happen, and maybe I actually get into a bad position. So this is one way to play. Again, not my favorite. The other way to play here is, well, the move I played, I went ahead and just played rook a to b1. Now, this is a very important key idea, which goes into the brilliant. The idea is that I don't want this queen defending the knight on f6. Here I have ideas about removing the defender so I can take on f6, but right now with the queen there, they're just going to stop us. So with that being said, they went ahead and played queen takes f2. Of course they did. They love pawns. And now I was able to finish this up with a very nice checkmate in 3. Again, feel free to push pause if you want to or enjoy the show. All right, in this position right here, I found the very nice and brilliant idea of rook takes on e7. Okay, doesn't the rook just take back? Yes, that's the point. When they do take on e7, which is pretty much forced, I get to play queen takes on f6 check here. And this is why it was important to kick the queen away from the defense of the knight here on f6. And here, there's just no good move here. If king e8, it's checkmate on e7. And if they play the king over to g8, which happened in the game, we get to finish with this very nice idea of knight takes on e7 for check and mate. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed this. Remember, this was the Smith-Morra game, or the gambit, where if they play pawn to g6, just remember, you need to play the pawn to e5. Again, a move that is not very easy to see if you just come up with it over the board. But once you know it, you will start playing in your games, and I guarantee you this is going to help you out against those variations. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed this. We'll see you in the next video.